Good afternoon. Welcome to Virtual Pathdays. This is a session to meet the program within the Business, Economics, and Data Analytics path. I'd like to turn it over to Professor Ratcliffe, who will let us know about one of the business programs. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Marissa and Martha, it's good to have you with me. If you care to, you can turn your screens on so we can look at each other. But I'm going to welcome you as future entrepreneurs and talk a little bit about the Entrepreneurship Program and the Entrepreneurship Certificate Program at CCRI. And so I'll go through this. There are really three main courses for this. There's the introduction course, which is an overview of entrepreneurship. And then we have a class called the design process, and then the lean startup. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. One of the things that we start with in the introduction to entrepreneurship class is the design process. And what we did this semester is we looked at dog toys. And so let me give you an example of how this works. So the first phase in the design process is the empathy or inspiration phase. It's where we look around and we look for problems. So we had to go and watch dogs playing with toys. We had to talk to dog owners who had toys. And then we went to Amazon and looked on Amazon at toys that exist. And then we looked at the reviews. And out of that insight, out of that empathy and inspiration phase, we frame a problem that we want to solve. And what we found was that there were a lot of dogs that destroyed toys really quickly. There were a lot of owners that said that they were kind of upset that they would buy toys that said that they were indestructible and they'd get destroyed. And then on Amazon, there were lots of ads for toys that were that said they were indestructible. And then what happened was when we looked at the reviews, the people said, "Yeah, I bought this thing. It's supposed to be indestructible, and it was destroyed in a short period of time." So we framed the question: how might we create a dog toy that's indestructible? Then the next phase we went through is brainstorming, and we came up with hundreds and hundreds of ideas of different ways that we could create indestructible toys. And out of that, there were things like bulletproof toys and all of these different things. And then we combined ideas, and then we came up with some ideas for prototypes. And one of the interesting things that came out of it is that most people were looking at toys to make them indestructible. They were looking at the things that they were made of. And then somebody said, what about size? What if we change the shape and the size of a toy so that the dog can't get its teeth around the toy, and if they are not able to get their teeth around the toy, then they can't destroy it. So these prototypes were created, and they were basically drawings of what these dog toys would be like. And then they went back to the dog owners and they showed the pictures and said, "What do you think about this? What do you think about that?" They learned from what they said. They went back, drew new prototypes, and then they went through this entire iteration process until they came up with some pretty cool ideas for dog toys. And ultimately, what we teach in the entrepreneurship program, it's not about coming up with an idea and then writing this big 200-page business plan. It's really on making sure that you've got the right idea first. And so we really look at this as human-centered design. We look at human beings in their natural habitat and we mine for problems. The solution to the problems are the opportunities. And out of that, when we get to the final prototype of the dog toy, we have what's called a minimum viable product. And now this hasn't cost us anything to do this. And then what we might do is we might actually make a dozen or so of these toys, and then we would test them out with dogs and then see how it works. We'd learn from that and we'd fix the prototype. And when we're finally able to sell this, we haven't had to borrow any money. We haven't had to build an office anyplace. It was something that we could do in our garage or in our kitchen. And the key is that if we can create a minimum viable product that has been tested and people are willing to part with their hard-earned money, then we know that we might have something there. And so we really focus on two things in the entrepreneurship introduction class, which is that. And the second is something called a side hustle. And so we have you work on coming up with an idea on some sort of a small business that you can start in a short period of time and that you could generate $2,500 in revenue in a 6-month period of time, so that you can generate some working capital, some money that will allow you to create a bigger initiative. So I'm going to just kind of frame this by telling you a story. Sarah Blakely was 21 years old. She was a college student, and she had gained a little weight and didn't like how she looked in her jeans. And when she was when her jeans weren't fitting very well, you could see the kind of the panty line outlines in her jeans. And she thought, well, since I'm experiencing this, maybe other people are as well. And she thought to herself, and she said, well, what have I worn before that makes me look good? And she said, when I was wearing nylons under a dress, I looked great. So she took nylons, she cut the feet off the nylons, put them on, put the jeans over them, and she looked great. And she started a company that's worth $1.2 billion today. It's called Spanx. Problem, opportunity. So there is an investor whose name is Peter Thiel. And he was the co-founder of PayPal, and he was the first investor in Facebook. He's a multi-billionaire. And whenever people pitch ideas to him, he'll say, what's the stupidest idea? Because the sane ideas are things that people have already thought of. And so I find many times in the entrepreneurship class that people come in and they say, I want to do this or I want to do that. And I'll say, what makes you think that that's a good idea? Maybe it's a good idea to you, but it's not a good idea to the customers. So I'm going to tell you something right now that I think is really, really important to think about. It is about the customer's need, not your need. And you have to identify and satisfy the customer's need. And this is the most important point, from the customer's point of view, not from your point of view, not from your friend's point of view, not from your parents' point of view, but from your point of view. So I'm going to quickly share a slide with you and kind of show you what the entrepreneurship program is all about. Actually, I'm going to go back here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so the Entrepreneurship Certificate program is kind of interesting because if you have a general business degree, you can literally get your entrepreneurship certificate without having to take any additional classes. So the classes on the left-hand side are the required classes for the general business degree. But then you also have 4 electives that you can take within the general business degree. And if you take leadership development, introduction to entrepreneurship, the design process, and the lean startup, that's a total of 29 credits. Again, you don't have to take any additional classes because these are just electives that you have to take anyway. You will graduate with an associate's in general business and a concentration and a certificate in entrepreneurship. So these are the 3 main classes that focus on entrepreneurship, and all are being offered in the spring. Intro to Entrepreneurship is Business 1145. The design process is Business 1165. And then the capstone course is the Lean Startup, which is Business 1185. This class, Business 1185, has a prerequisite, which is the design process. You could take Introduction to Entrepreneurship and the design process in the same semester, or you could plan it out. You take Introduction to Entrepreneurship, then the design process, and then finally the Lean Startup. And then I'm going to just share with you this video that the community college created about the entrepreneurship program.
My name is Chris Ratcliffe, and I am the coordinator of the entrepreneurship program at the Community College of Rhode Island. I think one of the things about the entrepreneurship program is that it's so simple for a CCRI student to actually get a certificate here, because most of the classes in the program are already required for a general business major.
My name is Candace Diaz, and I am at CCRI majoring in business.
My name is John Nunes, and my major is business management.
My name is Madison Young, and I'm a general business major. This is a wonderful opportunity. I don't have to transfer to anywhere else to get my entrepreneurship certificate.
I'm interested in entrepreneurship because me and my friends have been doing small jobs and businesses. Taking this class has taught me how to make it a real business.
I've never really seen myself as a 9-to-5 type of girl. That's why I chose entrepreneurship.
Creating a business idea in class, we came up with 100 ideas.
We're writing them all down on a board.
And we discuss it with the rest of the class and go over the pros and cons of the businesses. You get input from other individuals who aren't biased.
It's benefited me because it's given me a reality check of how hard it actually is to start a business, but also just how many opportunities are out there.
It prepares you for obstacles that may come your way, and it helps you avoid them at the same time.
It feels great being a part of something so immersive and realistic.
I think the wonderful thing about this entrepreneurship program is that they're going to be well equipped to create their own work, to start their own company. They can go on to do amazing things.
And with that, I'll open it up to any questions that you have, Marissa or Martha. What would you like to know?
Feel free to take yourself off mute or type a question in the chat, and we'll be sure to get that answered.
I have a question.
Sure.
All right. So if I take in the spring any of the general business classes, will that help me get to the general business entrepreneurship certificate?
It will. Let me just bring it up here again. I'll show it to you. So these classes right here are the general business classes. You need these to get your entrepreneurship certificate, but these are required, and these are the ones here that you take for your electives. So you could take Introduction to Business, Financial Accounting, and Leadership Development. They're all going to count towards your entrepreneurship certificate.
All right. So is that slide? Can you email me that?
Sure. What is your email address?
It is mbarrows6@my.ccri.edu.
Yep. I'll email it right after this, Marissa.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome, Marissa.
That was a
That's
really
the only-
great question, Marissa. Thank you very much for that. That's an example of what we call stackable credentials. That, you know, with just an added course or two, you can add something to a degree you're already getting. It's a great opportunity.
All right, because that's what I'm leaning towards, a general business degree.
Yeah, and then when you finish that, you'll finish. If you follow those course suggestions, you'll have both an associate's degree and that entrepreneurship certificate.
All right, thank you for your help.
You're welcome, Marissa.
All right. Well, then we're just about at the end of our time with this short session today. Professor Ratcliffe, I want to thank you very much for being here and providing information for our students. And I want to thank our students for being here as well. And if you're watching this in recording, be sure to check out the other recordings of sessions for students in business, economics, and data analytics, or if you're interested in that as a general studies student right now. And you can find more information about all of the CCRI academic and career pathways at www.ccri.edu/pathways. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you, Jessica.